Hello everyone, it is me Sasha Kawaii Cat, and in today's video, I will be taking a look at two drawing apps, Huion Sketch and Procreate. My goal for this video is to compare the two drawing apps to figure out how an Android drawing app like Huion Sketch compares to a professional Apple drawing app like Procreate. Is Huion Sketch as good as Procreate? Is this app basically Procreate for Android users? Well, let's find out. I've reviewed Huion Sketch twice now, having done the most recent review just a few months ago. And already that review is outdated because Huion continues to impress me with their dedication in continuously upgrading and improving this app. When I reviewed Huion Sketch before, I was hearing a lot of decent things about it, sure, but I certainly wasn't hearing people comparing it to apps like Procreate, but now that is a lot of what I'm seeing. And that had me curious because I thought Huion Sketch was pretty decent when I reviewed it last, but it definitely still had a lot more work that needed to be done to it. That said, at the time, the drawing I did for it was done on my not the best student level tablet with my finger. I definitely wasn't testing this app with the best equipment out there, but now having upgraded to a new Android tablet with a fancy new pen, which is my Samsung Galaxy S6 Lite, we are going to take another look at Huion Sketch once more and test out some of its shiny new features. Then, we're going to hop over to Procreate on my iPad and do a direct comparison. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to talk about in Huion Sketch is the layout and design. Like most Android and Apple apps, Huion Sketch has a layout that allows artists to easily navigate through their drawing space. Brushes, color wheel, and layers are easily accessible at the top of the app, while at the left you have the option to change the size and opacity of your brush. There are other tools and features like the option to stabilize your brush in the drop-down menu in the top right, and Huion Sketch also has an option to do animation. The added feature like the ability to create animation isn't something I see a lot of apps doing, so it's something I appreciate. Again, I didn't test it out because I'm not great at animation, but it's not a common feature in apps like this, so I'm just impressed that they decided to add it. Already the layout of this app is noticeably similar to the one in Procreate. If you just look at them side by side, you can see the similarities, though to be fair, Procreate's layout isn't exactly completely original either. But Huion doesn't really feel like it's doing its own thing like say Ibis Paint X and Medibang Paint, where their layout and design is nothing like Procreate. The first time I reviewed Huion, I said it felt like it took inspiration from a few different drawing apps. Well, now it feels like it's taken inspiration from one specific app, which to be honest, I don't really care about. I just want a good app that feels good to draw on, looks good, and is easy to navigate through, which Huion Sketch definitely is. They still haven't added the option to turn on a light mode, which isn't necessary or really important, it's just something I would personally like for aesthetic reasons. Another thing I would like to talk about is the added tools and features. Huion has a feature that is common among apps like this where you double tap to undo your work, which I really appreciate, and like most drawing apps on Android, being able to easily zoom in and out on your canvas makes your drawing experience very easy and convenient. It has a correction tool to stabilize your brush so you can get smoother lines, and something that I was surprised to see, now you can drag your color and drop it in your line art when you're coloring. I never realized how great this feature is. It's something Procreate does very well, and having it in Huion was kind of surprising, but a nice feature to have. It really helps with the coloring process, which is great for me because there are still only a few apps that I'm comfortable coloring my artwork in. Now let's talk about the actual drawing process and how these features and tools actually work and how they actually feel to use. So I decided to do some cute witches for this video, going with a pink and green look for the first drawing because as I've mentioned before, I love that color combination. So for our beautiful girl, I started out with trying to find a brush to do my sketch with, and sadly, Huion still does not have a lot of good brushes. I find these brushes to be, well, pretty bad. The lines were incredibly wobbly and the correction tool really didn't help. I'm used to doing some smoother lines than this and I powered through because I felt like I could still do some decent lines and create a good drawing, but it was pretty disappointing. I tested out quite a few brushes to find something decent to do my sketch and line art with, and the brushes I settled on still weren't the best, but like I said, they still got the job done. Now this is pretty disappointing because Procreate is known for having pretty decent brushes and a good drawing experience with a decent stabilization tool so you can get smoother lines. Even without adjusting your brush, when you go into Procreate, you are going to get pretty decent lines and better brushes to work with. This is something I mentioned in my last review of Huion Sketch, and it's sad to see that they still haven't fixed this. Huion just still isn't there yet when it comes to these brushes. The air brushes, for instance, just don't do what I want them to do. It also doesn't have any blurring brushes. You can't really do a lot of blending in this app, which for a lot of people is very disappointing. Moving on to the coloring, this was a bit better. I had to really play around with the tolerance to get the fill tool to really give the best results for me, and even then it was still a little off. I'm still not very impressed with stuff like the fill tool in apps like these, and to be frank, it's not just Huion. Procreate isn't that much better, so I have to change my approach to coloring whenever I use these types of apps. There's a lot of just cleanup involved to get these colors cleanly inside the lines, and it's not the best way to color for me, but in the end, I pretty much got the same results. Really for me, the thing is the time it takes when I'm coloring on Huion, which we'll talk about it more when we get to my Procreate drawing, but basically it's a bit longer than usual, which isn't ideal. I really love the additional palette wheel that shows up on the right side when you hold down on the color option. I really love this thing. It looks so good, and I like the choices of colors that are available as well. I don't know where the inspiration for this came from because I don't think this is something that Procreate has, but I really like it. I also really like the features like the alpha lock, which is called unlocking transparent pixels in this for some reason. I don't know what that's about. The clip-in mask is a new feature that they added, which I also really appreciated, but it didn't look as good when I tried to use it to color my line art. Like, I could still see some darker colors on my line art for some reason. Merging the layers usually gets rid of that. But besides that, the alpha lock feature does work pretty well, and it pretty much does the same thing. If you're wondering, these are tools that I use to color the inside of my lines. It makes my drawings look a bit more interesting in my opinion. Overall, I thought my drawing turned out pretty well. Despite a few setbacks, it very much looks like my usual style, and I'm very impressed by the fact that I can create art that looks this good in this app. Huion Sketch was also pretty stable to draw in, and I'm pretty happy with the finished artwork. But let's move on to Procreate. For my Procreate drawing, I decided to do another cute witch with a more gold, purple, and white color scheme. Initially, I wanted her to be the girlfriend of the witch drawing I did on the Huion Sketch app, but I think they ended up looking more like sisters. But anyway, before we get to the drawing, we are going to talk about Procreate itself and do a direct comparison to Huion Sketch. Again, we have the similar layout with the option to change the size and opacity of your brushes to the side on the left, and your added features like your layers color wheel at the top. Like Huion Sketch, the app is very easy to navigate through and is designed to have your tools and features be easily accessible. You really get a nice and comfortable drawing experience on Procreate. Features like double tapping to undo your line art and dragging the color to drop it into your drawing is done very well here. For a lot of people, Procreate is a way for them to draw very quickly and still do some very professional looking art, and I can see why. For me, the layout isn't vastly different from the Huion Sketch app, so I can't say it's better or worse as far as it relates to design and layout. It does have a Lite option, which Huion does not have, but like I said, this isn't really important. It's just something I personally really appreciate because I like the Lite version for aesthetic reasons. I will say Huion Sketch has that really nice palette wheel, which I like, which Procreate does not, so there is that. When we get to stuff like the brushes and features, things get a little different because the brushes in Procreate are pretty good. We don't have any of those wobbly, jittery lines. We have a pretty good stabilization tool, so you can get even smoother lines if you want, and you can blend and blur to your heart's content with the brushes that are available. Immediately you'll notice the difference in drawing experience when you start using Procreate brushes. I certainly did. But enough of that, let's get to this drawing. So for the drawing, as I mentioned, I decided to do another witch. For the design, I wish I had changed her pose a little bit more so she didn't look so similar to my floral witch, but I think she still looks pretty good. The brush I used for sketching was pretty decent, and as I mentioned, I got some pretty smooth lines without having to adjust anything and play with that stabilization tool. Doing the line art was also pretty good. The lines just looked much more clean and decent, and I was very happy with how it turned out. Once I got to the coloring, I found the process to be a lot more cleaner than what I ended up doing in Huion Sketch. Unlike Huion Sketch, Procreate's magic wand, while still not the best in my opinion, was significantly much better. I had an easier time with the selection process than I did in Huion, and that made coloring a lot more better, and I found myself just doing the coloring a lot more quickly. Dragging and dropping that color onto your line art was also just a lot better in Procreate. This feature is very useful when coloring, and this is something they do very well in Procreate. Overall, I just had a much better time drawing and coloring in Procreate. For a lot of people, Procreate is their go-to drawing app, and I can definitely see why. Something that I don't think Huion Sketch has yet is also the option to save a time-lapse of your artwork, and as a YouTuber, that's something that I really appreciate in drawing apps. For the drawing, I really love how it turned out. Comparing it directly to the one I did in Huion Sketch, they both actually look pretty good to me, which is great. Knowing I can draw on both these apps and get similar results is really great. So let's wrap this up. My final thoughts are that Huion Sketch just isn't there yet. I see what they're doing with their layout and design, and I think they've made significant improvements, but it is just not on the same level as Procreate, at least not yet. It still has a lot more features that needs to be added. The brushes need work, there's still just a few things that need to be improved. Regardless, I still do believe that this is the closest we've gotten to an app that is similar to Procreate on Android. It still has a lot of the features that I like on Procreate. It's still a very decent app, and I can see this really being on the same level as Procreate if they make some upgrades. For a lot of people, it already reminds them of Procreate, and for me it does as well, but it just doesn't function the same, and that's something that's really important when it comes to these drawing apps. I will say that unlike Procreate, this app is completely free, whereas Procreate costs like $10 and around like £9 for me. And I mean, for what it is, it's really nice that you can get similar features that you would find on an app like Procreate on Huion Sketch for free. So that is the review, and those are the finished drawings. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like my art and you would like to show your support, you can donate to my Ko-fi account and also join my Ko-fi membership to gain special rewards like early access to speed paint videos, full resolution drawings, all my custom Ibis paint brushes, and much, much more. The link to that is in the description below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!